Live from the Business RadioX studio in Atlanta, it's time for Dental Business Radio, brought to you by Practice Quotient. Practice Quotient bridges the gap between the provider and payer communities. Now here's your host, Patrick O'Rourke.
Hi there, friends of the dental business community. This is your host, Patrick O'Rourke with Dental Business Radio. Thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate that. And would like to thank our sponsor, Practice Quotient, PPO negotiations and analysis. If you are a top-tier provider, don't you feel like you should get paid like a top-tier provider? And you should probably have top-tier representation. If you don't feel comfortable with that statement, or you don't feel like you're getting top-tier representation or compensation, then you should contact Practice Quotient, www.practicequotient.com. So with that, let me welcome our guest today from Endo1 Partners, all the way from California and Texas, respectively. We're coming with Matthew Haddad and Daryl Dudum. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Thanks for having me.
Did I say your last name right, Daryl?
Dudum, yes.
Dudum. Sorry about that.
No problem.
I've never said your last name before, actually.
No, thanks for having us on. We're excited to be here.
Good. Well, we're very excited because what this show is all about is kind of what's new, what's different, what's going on in our industry. And I feel like you guys are in the mover and shaker category for sure. And so tell me a little bit about, let's start with you guys first. So you're both endodontists, right?
Yes, we are.
All right. So how did you decide you wanted to be an endodontist?
Well, I guess it started with how we wanted to be a dentist. But we went to dental myself. I went to dental school and just realized that specialty was more my style. I like doing root canals. I found some great mentors and people that I really connected with and just ran with it. So I finished my dental school training in Cleveland, Ohio, Case Western University. And after that, directly after I finished dental school, I moved to Boston University to do my 2-year residency. And that's where Daryl and I met for the first time. And that's kind of where I guess the genesis of Endo1 seed was planted. And, about 10 years later, here we are.
Gotcha. Daryl, did you know when you were 6 years old that you wanted to?
No, I mean, I always wanted to go into dentistry from when I was a kid, and then it kind of morphed into maybe medicine and back into dentistry. My mentor through dental school and, in endodontics is actually one of the co-founders of Endo1 is actually a cousin of mine, Darren Rishwain. So going through dental school and he really mentored me through, and then followed in his footsteps to Boston University, which is, as Matt was mentioning, where we met as co-residents, and then actually partnered with Darren out in the Bay Area. So we've been practicing out in the Bay Area for about 10 years, and as Matt said, obviously, then we put everything together and started Endo1 last year.
Mm-hmm. So you're in Boston, and you're like, man, it is cold in Boston.
Yeah, it's been my
whole life.
In California. I grew up in the Bay Area. Went down to UCLA for undergrad and University of the Pacific in San Francisco for dental school. So I was a California boy my whole life, and then got out to Boston for a couple of years and ran away from the snow pretty quick after that.
Mm-hmm. Amen. And so Matt, you're like, I'm going to Texas.
Yes. Yeah. Get me out of here, somewhere south. So I had a buddy who was in Texas and visited a couple times and just loved it, fell in love with it. And I jumped on a plane right after graduation and haven't looked back.
Yeah. I have to say, two of my favorite states are Texas and California. I'm originally from Florida, so cold is not my favorite thing either. I like Boston and specifically Cape Cod in the summertime, but definitely not right this time of year. Texas is awesome, and so is California. I actually got married in the Bay Area in Sausalito.
Oh,
I'll tell you that story another time because this show is really about business, not Pat's funny life anecdotes. Although it is a good story and it involves a Tom Petty song. So, but another time. So you guys are, one's in Texas, one's in California. Now, I know a ton of specialists, and what's really kind of different about you guys is that you're more than clinicians, much more. You guys are entrepreneurs, business, and you want to play big boy ball is what I call it. And I love that about you. So tell me a little bit about Endo1 Partners, and tell our listeners about what Endo1 Partners is and what you are accomplishing.
Yeah, I mean, when we started putting this together last year, we realized that there was a lot of change going on in the dental marketplace. We had been talking about the changes with regards to the amount of group practices that were growing around us. I mean, there was so many people when we were going through dental school. We had a lot of the faculty and people we knew, they were single practices for 30, 40 years, and handed it down to their possibly their children, or sold it to one person, and that was kind of the way that everything transitioned. And things were changing. I mean, we realized there was even in local markets, you would see 4, 5, 6 location practices where that never really existed. There was a lot more partnership models where you'd have 4 or 5 partners in a practice with a couple locations. And that wasn't very common, 20, 30 years ago. And so we started to realize that, and then all of a sudden it went into the corporate consolidation, where a lot of these, large DSOs started to form. And Matt and I chatted a lot, and he brought up that, there wasn't a lot of consolidation in the endodontic space specifically, in the sense where there wasn't a group that you could join that was, really looking out for, the endodontists and the way that they want to practice and keep their autonomy and what's important to them. And so, we pitched the idea back and forth a little bit, and that's where the genesis of it kind of came from, was how do we get all those benefits of a larger organization, not only in our local market, but as we grow and scale, to get a lot of these benefits that these other larger groups are getting, that we can't get access to from our local market. And how do we run our practices more efficiently, get better supply costs, and just basically get the power of being larger.
Is that the benefit though? There's the benefits of like, hey, we get bulk dental supplies. There's got to be several
there's a lot of benefits. And coming back to what Daryl was saying, is high level, 2 things that really make Endo1 Partners and our group of partners unique and stand alone is, first, Daryl mentioned, is we're endo specific. Being, when we came out being first to market, there's a couple other people now, which is, kind of normal, but nonetheless, first to market. And the big one that separates us, not just from endodontics or specialty, is the way the company was formed. So Daryl mentioned, hey, the way consolidation started, first the mom and pop practice, then we see, hey, 3, 4, 5 locations locally, and then, private equity, capital partners got in the mix, and they started consolidating. So these DSOs, as most people call them, they were basically a collection of, a private equity firm coming in, buying a bunch of group practices, like Daryl mentioned, 4 or 5 local practices, consolidating them, and then inserting their management team and continuing to acquire, affiliate practices and grow. So coming back to what I was saying, the second part that makes us unique is we did a little differently. We formed the group, and we did realize that private equity is necessary. Capital is necessary to grow. Certain parts of the growth, the experience is necessary to have. So we went and shopped around our own private equity partner. We weren't, someone didn't find us. And when we did that, it was more of a minority type situation. And that comes back to, the traditional method where they insert management teams. And we said, hey, we're going to do this, but we're going to do it our way. We're going to control the company. We're going to control the board. have majority equity, and we're going to be CEOs. Daryl and I both being co-CEOs. So really having complete control, the dentist be in control, day-to-day operations, everything that's going on, hiring the management team, so on and so forth. I think that's what really separates us. But at the same time, having a fantastic private equity partner who supports us and adds a ton of value, but doesn't completely control the dentist.
I think that is very different. And obviously, I'm in the space. I think that the way you guys are doing it is different. It's important to have the right partners, from a financial standpoint for sure, and also from just a business knowledge standpoint. Just as a business owner, it's kind of one of the parts of this show is that you can, especially if you're, also have a family. It's like you're running a business, you have a family, you're really good at what you do, but you're pouring everything into your business, and your family with the extra time that you have left over. And then hopefully you can sleep occasionally, and so I don't have time to be an expert at everything. And so I have to find the right partners and the right advisors to help me see things that I don't see, and take advantage of opportunities and, help, kind of clear the path of all of the distractions that jump in our way, every day, every year. This is a year, talk about rolling with the punches. This is the year, don't, if I talk to people all the time that really started a business this year, and I'm like, wow, you got some, courage or testicular fortitude, if you will, so I think what you're doing and choosing your own destiny proactively is smart. That's very intelligent. And it seems to be working out well for you as you're talking to different docs all across the country. Have you found that there's any difference in attitudes or perceptions, when you get outside of Texas and California? Daryl?
You mean with regards to what they're looking for in a partnership, or?
Yeah. Sure.
No, I don't think so. I think obviously different different regions of the U.S. are a little, you have weather and things like that. But I think overall, it's such a small specialty of endodontics. What we're looking to do with patients, what matters, what's important to us with regards to patient care, I think is something that's pretty streamlined across the industry, which is great. And so I think, when we go around and we're meeting with different doctors and talking to them about, what a partnership with Endo1 looks like and what it's like to be involved, I think it's really great that we get to sit down, endodontist and talk to them about it. And they get to understand, because we have a lot of similar concerns, when Matt and I and Mark and Darren, the four co-founders, when we put this together, we wanted to make sure that all of our, concerns that we had with having our practice involved with something larger were addressed. I wanted to make sure that, our staff was taken care of. I wanted to make sure I could, order supplies or whatever, maybe things that were important to me, the way I scheduled my patients, how much time I had with them. These are all very important things in the way I ran my practice. And so I think it's really nice for us to sit down with partners and talk to them about how that will look like after the partnership and make sure everybody's aligned with that. And the nice thing is we understand the language that they're talking. We know what's important to them because it was important to us. And I think that's something that resonates across the entire country, no matter, where we are. And
right. Is it because your business is your baby, right? So it's like you're the one that's making the decisions. And one of the reasons why I left corporate America is because the question to me at the time was, do you want to make the decisions or do you want to have the decisions made for you? Well, it was crystal clear to me at that moment. So you're essentially saying, hey, partner with us, but you're not going to lose, autonomy. I've also noticed that the folks that you are partnering with Endo1 tend to be top tier, high caliber, established endodontists. So I'm sure you have some sort of criteria when you're looking for your partners so that you can maintain the same quality in your brand. Would that be an accurate statement?
Yeah, definitely. And even tying into your previous question, when sitting in front of docs and, going out of state, all the other big DSOs out there, they all have their business development team, and they sit down and, they say, hey, this might be a possibility for an affiliation. And they look at numbers and do their diligence. And then they try to do the transaction that way. We have our business development team, but when it's getting a little bit hot and we feel like it's a good partnership opportunity, Daryl and I fly out there. We shake hands or bump fists. Now that's what we're doing, but we got it.
I know.
But we sit down and we break bread and we, at being endodontists and being in the position that they're in now, being in it previously, we can really relate to them and not only, make us feel good about the partnership, but on the other side of the table. So I think, some of those pieces are why we've been tremendously successful. Just that personal touch and that understanding.
Nothing like getting eyeball to eyeball. I have to agree with you totally. It's one thing I miss. I see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I certainly don't want to go into COVID talk, although it's still, hopefully it's like one of those fads from the 80s or the 90s that we all forgot about. You know what I mean? There's pictures with Matt and Daryl wearing flannel somewhere, I'm sure, but, we're going to pretend like it didn't happen.
Not that old. Not that old.
No, I'm old. Is that what you're trying to say?
I didn't say anything.
My kids make me feel old all the time. They're like, "Hey, this song was made in 1985. Oh, it's good, even though it's old." I'm like, I'm gonna smack the crap out of you. At any rate, so and I know that docs can be particular and kind of set in their ways in a little bit. Like I have a good friend, John Muse. John Muse listens to the show. Hey, John, what's up? And he likes to go play golf every Wednesday. That's what he does. He's has his own practice, very successful. And probably wouldn't ever change that little routine. And so I think if he was ever going to partner with anybody, he'd be like, so I'm going to do whatever I want with my staff, right? And I'm going to be playing golf on Wednesdays. That's the deal. Are there any weird requests like that? Like, what's the strangest thing that somebody's asked for, Daryl? And you can switch it up a little bit if you want to protect the innocent.
Yeah, no. I wouldn't say we've had anything that's been that odd so far. Maybe Matt has something that he can chime in on, but I mean, typically those things that you mentioned are very important to us. I mean, and it kind of goes back to what we were saying of, sitting down and kind of going through those things and us understanding as endodontists. I mean, I want my Wednesday off to play golf too. So, I don't blame them. So, I mean, all of those things that are there before and after is we want them to stay the same. And our focus is partnering with quality practices like you're mentioning. People have great reputations in the community and have been around for a long time. And those are the great partnerships that we're looking for, because not every group in the space, the DSO space is looking to do that. I mean, some groups go out and they're looking for practices that, maybe are on the downside and they're, doing well and they can get them and try and, build them back up. I mean, that's not what we do. I mean, we go around and we want to partner with the best of the best. And that's what we have, we feel like we've done in our practices, and we want to partner with people who are like-minded in that sense. And that's really important to us.
Right. So if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Exactly. I mean, our goal is not to go in there and reinvent the wheel. I mean, we want to work with people that know what they're doing, that have great practices, and we're there to support them. And we're there to, take off some of the management burden that, they don't, want to necessarily deal with. And so that's really what we come in to do. We're not trying to rewrite anything.
So what's the top 2 heartburn management issues? I'm curious.
The top 2, I didn't catch that.
Top 2 management burdens that you're going to relieve. So 2 of the things that cause heartburn. Management would be easy if it wasn't for people. That's what was told to me when I was 21 years old. And I was like,
that's a great question. And I think that question differs from doctor or group to group. Mm-hmm. But one thing that is pretty consistent is there's some, nuances and responsibilities of running a business that you have to do that, really don't, leave that much of an impression on the actual business. So everyone loves us taking away, being responsible for payroll, HR, benefits, having a team that's able to, get in front of their employees and properly explain things and enroll them and making sure we hold their hand and it's done properly. Because that stuff can be confusing. And frankly, we're dentists, we're not HR specialists. And then the other side of that is accounting. So accounting is, a part that is consolidated. And then what we do is we really try to, help the docs and the groups manage off that P&L. So, pull all the information, work with the accountants, produce financial reports, and then, help, make the practice operate more efficiently by looking at things like that. So I would say accounting and HR are really the two big things that no one ever says, hey, wait, I want to enter my, payroll hours in there and all my make sure, they're signed up for benefits and answer questions on health insurance. So everyone's pretty happy if we take those things off the table.
Right. So you're onboarding the employees, you're training. And now I would imagine that like some of the group practices you have may have some group health plan, but the larger you get, I'm an insurance guy and I used to do large group sales. I have an insurance license. So the bigger you are, the better benefits that you can offer, even if you're spread out all over the country. And so that's huge. I mean, it's massive. And, so like my company is under 10 employees. And so the options, even though I know this industry inside and out, are still limited. Once you can get the larger, you have so many more options, and that's the number one thing that people want, right? Is medical benefits. And then to be able to explain that to them and articulate that to them. And that's not just the employees either, right? That's the docs.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. And that's a great point too. We, to this day, we have not had an affiliation who said, hey, whoa, our benefits were better before. So it's an added benefit. We are, as we continue to grow into a larger company, we are able to provide larger benefits and want to do that. That's an exciting thing for us. We're happy to go in there and have our HR manager come and explain all the benefits and the benefits of joining and affiliating with Endo1. So that's something we're very proud of and happy to offer.
Right. So I think that's huge. So the second biggest complaint that I ever hear is it's hard to find good either associates, practice managers, sometimes regular staff, but that's the two that I hear the most of. So if you're trying to attract and retain talent, the benefits package is certainly a way to do that the other local independent shops can't. I think that's huge. I think that's very smart. Bravo. Hopefully everybody appreciates, because it's actually a lot of work, whoever your benefit broker is, especially as spread out as you guys are. So you want to give them a shout out?
Yeah, it is. I mean, that's, one thing that we've realized and I, noticed it at my practice. I mean, the amount of employees we had, it was hard to get a great insurance, benefit package. And if you got one, there wasn't a lot of options. There was pretty much one option, hard to get all the, dental, or maybe you want chiropractic or, disability, all these other different options or add-ons to the policy. It was pretty much here's health and that's it. And it's expensive for the small business owner too. I mean, when you only have 6, 7, 10 employees, like you're saying, Patrick, I mean, that's a problem. So by us being larger, I mean, we get to do two things. One, we get to provide, as Matt said, much better benefits, not only with the health itself, but, other options that they can add to it. And then we additionally have a lot of variability for them. I mean, some people want, the best of the best, medical plan, and they can, pay up for that. And some people want something that's just, I want something with no premium and more of a, an emergency only kind of health plan. So, different people, depending on their situation and their age and whatnot, they want different types of insurance. And so having that flexibility has been really big for for the staff of people coming on board to Endo1. And I think it's, just kind of strengthens that relationship to understand of a lot of the benefits that we provide, when you do come on board Endo1. So the doctors have been more than happy with what the staff's, response has been to the benefits package as a whole.
All right. Yeah. I'm tempted to be like, maybe I should find you guys as a partner and you guys can handle our HR and our benefits, because I think even my premium is as much as my mortgage, which is nuts.
Is that why you charge us so much, Patrick?
What's that?
Is that why you charge us so much?
It's all about value, baby. It's never about how much money. When some people ask me, they're like, how much money does it cost, Pat? I'm like, well, the question is really, how much money am I going to make you? That's the question, and I think that you will find, just like all of our other clients, that a partnership is really worthwhile. If you haven't found that already, you guys are growing so fast.
100%. You referenced it before when we were talking about private equity, where our approach was unique, but we were looking at them. Listen, to build a big group like this, you need lots of help and you need great partners. And we looked at the private equity side as that's the role that we need them for. And also, practicing with you guys, we knew that this was an area. We talk about what are the benefits of affiliating, and one of them is having you as one of our team members. Obviously a third party, but having you in our arsenal of things that we can provide. So we've told people some of the success we've had working with you guys in Texas. I know that was kind of our first project, and we're very fortunate and thankful and looking forward to that to continue.
Mm-hmm. It's with growth. The one thing that's not talked about, just to sidetrack it a little bit, just for our listeners, growing, every time you grow, it takes more time, acquisitions and transitions. There's periods of turbulence. We're not magic. There has to be a plan. You want to reduce your turbulence. Turbulence is my polite word for cash flow disruption, claims disruption, patient disruption. And most of all, if not the most important, is staff disruption. What's your plan? Like, you can't just buy a practice, and I get this call, especially these days. They're like, just bought a practice this morning, Patrick. So it's Friday. On Monday, can you get me credentialed and give me all of the highest fees? And I'm like, thanks for calling. No, we can't do that. That's all about communications and expectations. And so, I've met with a few of your folks down in the Tampa Bay area, because I'm a native Tampanian. Holler back to Tampa. And was able to get eyeball to eyeball with those guys. And I said, hey, listen, I understand your market completely, and here's kind of the things, but there's typically not a one size fits all strategy when it comes to your network participation. And you guys are finding that out when you get two different practices that are in the same metro market, right? So you may have one that's on every plan and another one that's on 3. And so, you can't just cram in one model across the board. So you have to look at each practice strategically. And, there's one thing, if, all of our listeners out there, if you think you're just going to cram the one thing in there, like, good luck. You're not going to be able to grow the way that you want to grow. So listen to me now and hear me later on that, dear listeners. But thank you very much for the compliments. I do appreciate it. I feel like you guys are slightly better dressed than me, although I'm wearing a suit. So that troubles me sometimes. So
my wife put it together, so sorry. And you like to hear this too. My wife, she's a O apostrophe as well. She's an O'Sullivan, or was O'Sullivan.
Yes, so she feels the pain of the apostrophe. I love it. Yeah. But it's data entry. I told my wife when we got married, I said, don't use the apostrophe. You're going to go to the same bank. You're going to go to SunTrust. We've been there for 20 years. They're going to be like, you don't have a bank account. And you're like, okay, try O space R.
It's the Y2K of last names.
Yes. Yes, for sure. Well, I like her already. We're probably like third cousin somehow. So then isn't it every time I get a compliment on how I'm dressed, it usually is something that my wife picked out. It's uncanny, you know? I don't know if like they put a sticker on there that other women can see, maybe.
Or they either dress you or comment on what you currently or put on initially. So you sure you're going to put that shirt with that jacket?
Right. Exactly.
Go back to the closet.
Right. And they give you that look and they're like, so you're wearing that. You're going in public, right? And you're like, no, I was just getting the mail. I had to put a shirt on. I'll go back to the drawing board. Yeah, so wives are great. Shout out to Mrs. O'Rourke and Mrs. O'Sullivan Haddad. And Daryl, are you
Yes.
betrothed?
Yes, married. Yeah.
Two kids.
I'm sorry, three children. Can't remember anymore. three little ones.
Yeah, well, that's why.
Yeah, exactly.
How old are they?
5, 3, and 1. So we have.
You are in the mix.
Yes, we are, but it's a lot of fun.
I am surprised you're awake right now.
Yeah,
hey, I got them beat. I have 4, 2, and 11 months. So
Good Lord,
just by an inch.
God. Yeah, we just got out of diapers, and I went over at my friend's house, and they have a 6-month-old and a 3-year, and about to be almost 3. You know, and they're like, it's terrible too. I'm like, wait till they turn 3. They're classified as domestic terrorists at 3. All right. So like for that, they're just crazy. Like 1 second they're so sweet. They're like, I love you, daddy. And then they're burning down your house. Like, don't look away. Yeah. So, and you guys are running all over the country. So I think you should buy your wives have nice Christmas gifts coming then, I assume.
Already done.
All right. Good job. You're not going to be at Walgreens like me at midnight going, oh. I think the Chia Pet, she's going to like it. It's kind of kitschy. I'm just kidding, Stephanie. Probably. So what do you guys see as some of let's back it up a little bit and just look at kind of the dental market as a whole. And so, I was talking to my friend Harris G from UBS last week, and we were talking about how our perceptions of the market may be a little bit different because all of our clients are established. And so, you know, I hear, you know, the ADA, I've read the reports and everything that there's, 20% of dentists are going to shut down, or that there's a lot of slowdown. And I don't really see that, but I tend to work with more established practices. And so how do you guys feel about the market in general? And I'll preface this by my own personal story about the last time I needed a root canal. When you need a root canal, nothing else matters. Nothing. Like, I'm getting a root canal and I'm going to get it right now. And so I think in my observation is that endodontists in a pretty good spot, but why don't you guys tell me what you're observing, because you're closer.
Yeah, that's a great point. So endodontics in general, through this COVID mess, especially the first kind of the shutdown in April, people really realize that there's parts of dentistry, and endodontics included, that is totally essential. Pre-COVID, post-COVID, you don't know how many. Once or twice a day, I see a patient who went to the emergency room, for that pain, whether it was a month before and it went away, or the day before. So when you stop access to that treatment, they're just going to show up in the hospitals and bog down the people who can't really fix the problem.
It's very, very expensive, by the way, for everybody.
Exactly. And run up, bills, and it's all a litany of problems. So, definitely in terms of emergency and essential care, we have our own little niche sector that needs to, be functional no matter, what the circumstances are. I think, it's just we are the definition of essential care. people don't say, "Hey, I want to go get a root canal today," and why not? You go because you need. So,
does anybody ever call up and say, "Matt, you're a root canal"? I've had root canals before, but not like that. That was just an exquisite experience. And then they send you a handwritten thank you card.
I don't want to pat myself on the back, but I think Daryl and I can both say, yeah, that happens. I mean, we do it all day, every day. We've perfected our business over the last 10, 11 years to maximize the patient experience and take care of the patients as best as possible. And we relieve pain and discomfort and infection. So when they come to see us, they're not the happiest, but when we make them feel better, they're quick to tell us. And that's I would say the biggest plus of this job.
That's awesome. Very fulfilling, isn't it?
It is.
I love when people say thank you, and they're like, I just appreciate that. It's, it's part of the reason I do what I do, actually. I like it. You get Christmas cards, from clients. It's like I'm telling you, I'm a very simple man. Small things make me happy. Daryl, has it, what's your take on that? So you guys are doing high quality. The need for root canals hasn't come down then, huh?
No, I don't think it has. I mean, I think, there's, with the general dentist offices being open, you're obviously going in and you're getting more work done, whether it's a cleaning, whether, more importantly for us, if you're getting a filling or a crown done or things like that, which then all of a sudden could cause, nerve pain. You might need a root canal after that. But I would say the majority of our work is kind of what you're saying. You wake up and you have a toothache and you didn't have anything done, yesterday or last week at the dentist. Your tooth just started to hurt. And that's why our business is essential. And, the other aspect of dentistry that is pretty in line with that is oral surgery. I mean, we were the two really subsets of dentistry that really stayed open and were pretty busy during the shutdown because you have to be. And, so much of that was, keeping, as Matt said, patients out of the emergency room. They're trying to keep ICU beds available for COVID patients. They don't want people there, who have a toothache, and not only that, they can't help them, right?
Can't do anything.
They literally cannot do anything. They just say, call your dentist. So, trying to, educate patients and, get them over to our offices instead of the emergency room is, would be a huge benefit. But I think, once they get there and they realize they need to get to a dental office, they need to get the root canal done. I mean, we have to see them. So everybody had kind of a little bit of a dip during those, April, May. And so much of it too was all of the practices trying to understand how to open, putting protocols in place. How do we stay open and protect ourselves, as we've always done? I mean, we practice with universal precautions in dentistry where we're always wearing masks, we're always wearing gloves, gowns, things like that, disinfection between patients. I mean, so much of what people are putting in place at other businesses, I mean, we already have, and even another level of. So, I mean, we constantly work on patients who have, different viruses and diseases that, we have to protect ourselves. So it's something we've always had and addressed. And so, but, this was a little different and, putting things in, whether it's air purifiers or having patients, rinse, with different disinfectants before they sit down in the chair, different items that made it a little bit better. But overall, we just had to understand how to practice in the current environment. And once we did, our production levels and our scheduling was all pretty much back up to normal. And we've seen most of our partners, I mean, pretty much starting in June have been back to normal is what we've seen.
And different states open at different times.
Absolutely.
Won't get into that, but the one thing that I will reiterate here just to all listeners is going to the emergency room does absolutely nothing and costs a lot of money, not just you, but the entire healthcare system. It's just, as a healthcare guy, that is the one thing that we were trying to drive people away. And so now for our listeners that may be in the insurance industry, all of my colleagues over there, hey guys, nice to see you in my mind's eye. Anyway, Daryl and Matt here are about to tell you what they've done to make their practices more safe and why their cost of care has not gone down. It's actually gone up. So with that, tell me a couple things, boys, what you've had to do that's cost you some money, and is a good reason why you would not take less money from an insurance carrier. Like you were getting paid X for a molar root canal in 2020 or 2019, and now they want to pay you less. And that's not a good idea, because your cost of care, your cost of doing business did not go down. Can you give not just me, but all of our listeners, especially you guys in the insurance industry, some examples?
Yeah, I think the low hanging fruit there is the PPE, personal protective equipment, not only needing an extra layer, more of it, but also the rising costs because of the demand. So all that, I think the numbers, it's anywhere from 3 to 10%, depending on the practice, type of practice that's
Wow.
adding to expenses, which is significant. So you factor that in with a decrease in fees. I mean, that's an astronomical hit to the industry. And
Compound impact.
Correct. And I mean, there's going to be if that happens, I mean, people would have to make hard decisions and basically, the numbers have to shake out and make sense. Otherwise, they'll have to make decisions about the way what they accept and the insurance companies that they're in network with. Another thing too, and it's not even counted in that expenses, there's also non-PPE expenses that are like, fiberglass covers in the front, air purifiers, as Daryl mentioned. If you're building a new office, maybe you realize you're going to need more square footage in the waiting room. If something like this happens again, there's a lot of other costs that are baked in that really weren't there pre-COVID. So it's hard to actually quantify that amount, but nonetheless, it's material. It's here, and frankly, I mean, there's no evidence that it's going away. It might stick around forever. So. Really, if the industry is trying to decrease reimbursement, that'd be an astronomical mistake. I mean, it'd be terrible.
Yeah, and additionally, we've had to, more staff in the office are having to wear PPE. So as Matt said, not only is it more expensive, if we have to have a lot more of it, not only per doctor or assistant or whatnot, but also for the front. I mean, we weren't having front desk staff wear masks before, wear gowns or face shields, things like that. I mean, but now a lot of offices do. So, I mean, it's additional staffing that has to wear this. And then as Matt said, because of the way that we also want to protect our patients and not have more than, a certain number of patients in the office at a time, but also our staff, we don't want them all taking lunch at the same time and all sitting down, eating, all together. So we've kind of had to adjust our scheduling to where, we have to only have one person taking lunch at a time. So we've made a lot of adjustments on our end to do the best we can. But from a supply cost perspective, yeah, I mean, absolutely things have gone up.
Well, I appreciate that, and so do they. So I will thank you on their behalf. I know that everybody's making some mental notes over there, all my colleagues on the other side of the ball. So as we kind of wrap up, this has been a really good show. What I want to really end with is growth trajectory to me is important. Tell me about your growth trajectory. What's your planned growth? What do you consider strategic growth, smart growth? Are you guys trying to, what are you trying to do?
So, take it a step back, when we started Endo1 Partners, a little over a year and a half ago, we were the founding locations, 8 locations. And we were trying to figure out what we were doing, how we were going to do it, what our values were, building our platform, and creating, getting our name out there, creating a pipeline of people that are interested. And fast forward a year later, we are currently 30 locations. And by the end of the year, we have some imminent closes. We should be 37 locations. So pretty significant growth trajectory. And not to mention, we also have another 20 locations in the pipeline planned to close before the end of Q1. So when all is said and done, end of Q1, we should be about approaching 60 locations. And that's, tremendous growth. We've seen growth of the management team develop along with that growth. I think we're 17 in the management department when a year ago we were 3 or 4 at the corporate level. So growth has been tremendous. I think the biggest part, we touched on this, is growing with the right partners. So whether, from a, ideological standpoint and endodontic standpoint, and how we, want to treat our patients, and the type of practices that we have grown throughout the time that doctor has owned it. Just picking the right partners, making sure they're a good fit. And as long as we, have the bandwidth and can support them and they're interested, we're willing to grow with it.
So that's a really good answer. And I was trying to not let my head explode with the amount of growth there. That's fun. That's exciting. That's a lot to manage all at the same time. And so, but it sounds to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this isn't just growth for growth's sake. This is simply, you guys actually are just finding the right partners at a good time.
Exactly. And I think that kind of goes back to, us talking last year and a half ago, 2 years, when we were putting this together. We decided to launch Endo1, was that there was a problem without a solution. And you go around, like I said, a lot of groups were joining larger, DSOs, and the space is consolidating, but there wasn't a good fit for a company that I wanted to join with my practice, with my baby that I had built for 10 years. And Darren and Matt and Mark, we'd all said the same thing. There's no group that we'd want to join right now, that, it doesn't exist. And so, when we put this together, and, as Matt said, brought in that, private equity partner, but we still had complete control of the company, that allows us to really tailor it to what's important to our practices, and really hit home with a lot of people. A lot of endodontists are like, wow, this is exactly what I've been looking for. This is what I'd want to join. I get to, continue to run the practice the way I want. I get to provide better benefits for my staff. You have partnership opportunities for associates. You have, the ability for me to take a lot of things off my plate, support me with, somebody like yourself, Patrick, to help increase, reimbursements for my insurances. There's so many benefits, along with creating a community of endodontists that get to know each other, we want to build a collaboration between them with regards to, the way that maybe I have a way that I market at my practice that might be beneficial for them, or this and that. So, there's so many benefits of being a part of a larger organization, such as, those and others we've talked on. And I think that it was a problem that needed a solution. And, we're the only ones now that kind of have that unique blend where, we still, oversee it. We get to make the decisions. An endodontist does. And so you don't have to worry about, a corporate or, somebody who's worried about the bottom line in that last penny or dollar, saving it, that might jeopardize the way that you've run your practice for years. Because that's not how we run our business. We want to do what's right for our practices and for all of our partners' practices. And that may mean, making a decision that, might not be the biggest economic advantage for the company, but it's more of a long-term advantage for the company.
I think that's a material advantage. So I don't want to, we have, full disclosure, obviously we have some larger clients. If I had $1 for every time 2 guys called me and said, hey, Patrick, well, we've got, 6 practices and we're going to have 20 in the next year. I'd be playing golf every Wednesday. You guys did it.
We did tell you that.
You did tell me that. Yeah. And I believe, and I believed you. And you did it. Now I'm like, well, pump the brakes a little bit, boys. But I think that says a lot about you guys, your drive, their structure, and the product. Really, when you're looking at what you do, it's the docs All right. So without you, without your partners, without the endodontist, there's nothing there. There's just an office that somebody can actually do that root canal in an exquisite type manner.
And that's a great point. And that's, again, one of the main reasons why we're successful. And, we don't love the 3-letter word of DSO. And that's why we coin ourselves as an EPO. So Endodontic Partnership Organization. And that middle letter is so important to us, the partnership, because really that's what makes us tick. So I think we have, these are approximate numbers, 45 to 50 endodontists under the umbrella of Endo1, and 30 of those are partners.
That's awesome.
And as Daryl mentioned, even when there's situations where there's a group practice coming in, some of the associates don't technically own equity in that practice, so aren't part of that transaction at the time. We let them know that, hey, as long as that doctor, whoever's running that practice, thinks that this is coined a key associate, if they think they're a key associate, there's a path to partnership for that person. There's a path where they can have equity in Endo1. And we've already, Daryl, correct me if I'm wrong, I think about 6. We've made 6 of those type transaction closings where someone didn't bring a practice to the table, but they were allowed to become a partner in Endo1. And I think we have another 5 to 8 that are kind of in line to be the next one. So it's been very, very popular. And I think it's, we're trying to do right by our partner docs, and not just the partner docs, the associate docs who want to be part of something larger and just don't want to be an associate forever.
I love it. Daryl, do you have any additional to add to that?
Yeah, no, what Matt said is great. And we've seen, as you said, so many people want to do it and see the value, and not only for the practice owner, previously to have the associate come on board and be a part of it long term, but they see the value in what we're building long term, even though it wasn't, they weren't the practice owner from the beginning, but the fact that they want to invest in what we're doing is a testament to what we're building. So that's exciting as well.
Yeah. Amen. So I will give you guys a lot of credit. I love what you're doing. And if there's people that are listening to the show right this second, if you're driving, you're not going to write down anything, but when you pull over, safety first, how would endodontists, interested endodontists, want to get in touch with you gentlemen?
I would say the easiest way is at our website, and that's Endo1, the number 1, partners with an S, .com. So Endo1Partners.com, link to connect with us. And through that link, I mean, Daryl and I, as we talked about previously, we're maybe too available. we're always available, always willing to chat. And even if, not necessarily looking to affiliate, but just want to connect with another endodontist, we'd love to hear from you. So.
Gotcha. And just so you know, everybody, all of our listeners, if you go to the show notes, the link to their website and all of the contact information along with bios and other details about Matt and Daryl will be there. So don't write it down if you're driving your car. But most of you guys are at home, right now anyway. So with that, is there anybody else that I heard you mention and give a lot of credit to your other 2 partners? Is there anybody else that you would like to mention on our way out, or give a kind of a shout out to, special thank you?
Yeah, go ahead, Daryl.
I say everybody at our team. I mean, everybody at the Endo1 Partners team, from the corporate level to our private equity partners, VSS, and the people we work with there, and additionally all of our partners and members of Endo1. I mean, it's been an amazing ride this last, year and a half of, like you talked about, where we were and where we've been. And, a lot of people put a lot of work into this, and it's exciting and where we're going. And we appreciate everybody's, help along the way.
Yeah, I'd echo that. And, obviously we already thanked you, Patrick, but really, truly mean that. You've been great with us. You are now officially part of our integration process.
Do I get benefits?
You mentioned, hey, Patrick, somebody calls you and can you save me 20%, next week, and it's a long process, and that's not your fault. That's the insurance company's fault. That's their game, but nonetheless, we have to play it. So, you, like you said, you're part of our integration process, getting them onboarded and knowing that, hey, 3 to 6 months, we'll start to see some traction. All our team at the management team, and then definitely all our partners. I mean, we've had this tremendous growth, and really, you say, hey, we're 30, 40 locations. I mean, it sounds big, but Patrick, the industry, it's not that big. So these people believed in us at an early stage. And they decided to jump on being the first, second, third, fourth group. So,
we've got a really, your team is great. I mean, I'm not sunshine and rainbows kind of guy. I'll give the special shout out to Sylvester, who's the man. Absolutely. Rock star status is approaching Bruce Springsteen, brother.
He's our man. Yeah. Employee number 2. So happy to have him. I think he just hit his year mark and
confetti bomb.
Not going anywhere. So we love him over there.
That's awesome. So for all of our listeners, let me thank Endo1 Partners, Daryl and Matthew. So from Texas to California, down to the Tampa Bay area, all the way to Buffalo, into Oklahoma, Wichita. Where else are we now?
Pennsylvania as well.
Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. Are we in New York? New York yet? Yeah, Buffalo's New York. Mm-hmm. They're not annexed into Canada yet. Buffalo joke. Mm-hmm. I have a lot of friends and family actually up there, and I know that they are under a lot of snow. So God bless all of you guys. Stay safe up there in the north. So I would like to thank John Ray, the producer and the unofficial mayor of North Fulton County, my man, John Ray, and the entire team at North Fulton Business RadioX. I'd also like to thank everybody at Practice Quotient, everybody on our team. Thank you very much to our sponsor, Practice Quotient, PPO analysis and negotiation. If you also want to get appropriately compensated, you want equitable partnerships with equitable payments with the best carrier business partners, you need to have a strategy to do that. No, it does not happen overnight. But if you have the right partners to represent you and you have the right strategy, the partnership between the carriers and the providers can be quite fruitful. Practice Quotient. We are a bridge between the provider and the payer communities. www.practicequotient.com. So thank you very much to Practice Quotient for sponsoring. And with that, until next time.